Hey everybody. So in my last video talking about the ridiculous Pragmata situation online, there are some things I had to focus on and some things that I had to leave out. And the main one I didn't dive into as much was the utter demonization of men that is going on and how much worse it is getting. Now if you're a gamer or a content creator or even a game developer, something that you've had to get used to over the past decade or so is exactly this. It's a demonization of men and masculinity in general. Something that was more lighter the further back you go, but became less and less subtle as the years went by. Initially, maybe it just came in the form of making it seem bad that gaming is a mostly male-dominated space. This is, of course, a totally normal thing born out of people's individual interests. In general, guys are just more drawn to video games than women, just like women are more drawn to pottery and gardening than men. Obviously exceptions exist, blah 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 blah, but the point is, people are more naturally drawn to some things than others, and sometimes that does have a correlation with gender, and it is a totally normal thing. It's a boys like blue and girls like pink type of thing. Doesn't mean that boys can't like pink too, just means that it's nowhere near as common, and therefore, if you have a men's section at a clothing store, you're not going to have nearly as much pink as other colors, and if you do, you might just go bankrupt. And then of course you're going to blame the patriarchy and whatever, you're going to blame bad society standards and all this, of course, because the entire planet has to fit your retardation and not the other way around. You know, it is what it is. We've been here. We've been here for a while, fellas. But for this modern toxic culture that we've been fostering and living under, where the inmates are running the asylum with a vicious hatred of men, this means it's a bad thing. Gaming being male-dominated is discriminatory, and so gaming has been getting held hostage by a bunch of arbitrary bullshit rules and programs that affect both studios and the staff that they have to hire, with diversity quotas and sensitivity courses, and the content that gets put into the games themselves. The boys club mentality that fostered a genuinely fun, profitable, and frankly magical industry of games made by people that just got it, you know, people that understood, people who were gamers creating games for other gamers, totally in sync with one another. All of this had to go, it had to be destroyed. That's the goal, and some of these people don't even hide it, they literally just say it. Now there's much more to this story if you really want to get into the weeds. Some of it is explored on this video here from just a couple of weeks ago, when we talked about some things related to 1348 ex voto. Feel free to check it out if you want a deeper dive into this stuff. But the problem is that we've arrived at a point of full-blown demonization of men to the degree where it's comical. The stuff I'm going to show you today is going to make you wonder if you're watching a goddamn Key and Peele skit or something. It's that bad. And you know, we're kinda used to just taking it, you know, rolling with the punches, and I could make a comment about how unfair that is, how it's not okay and all that, but frankly, I think that's what they hate the most. They hate the fact that we just don't crumble from it. They hate how we just roll with that shit and come out on top, because we take their vitriol and clown on it on videos like this. They hate that they are not the best at the game that they're trying to play. Even though, to be fair, it does suck when looking at it from the developer side. After all, their vitriol often comes in the shape of attacking games that unapologetically cater to us, rather than going down the destructive route of the modern audience. And as activists in game journalist positions and loud voices tied to programs, game platforms, consultant groups, gaming award shows, and so much more, because this industry is still so captured, this can financially harm studios. And for examples of these attacks, you need look no further than this channel. Go down the list of videos, you know, I cover some of them, such as what happened with Black Myth Wukong, the Lords of the Fallen developers, some indie devs like the ones working on Knight's Path, hell, even some cozy genre games, etc. For the sake of saving time and not boring the recurring viewer homies with going over it again, I'm just going to leave it out this time, but feel free to check it out. That's a shameless self-promotion of the Decembro show, where the commentary is spicy and the memes are spicier. just know that the vitriol is real and recent. This, for example, is an article from just a couple of months ago attacking the Lords of the Fallen 2 studio over their decision to put their own players first by polling them in what they want to see in their sequel. Polls that were totally innocent, merely inquiring about how people like their character designs and what they want most out of a Souls-like game. The spiciest poll that they did was asking players if they preferred male and female in the character creator or body type A and B. This alone made them lose their minds, put the studio on some kind of blacklist over a year ago already, and they even got banned from their own subreddit. And recently, an article described them and us as, and I quote, all the wrong people. Can we just take that in for a second? This is an actual article that is still up right now. This is how they see you and me. They see us as all the wrong people for literally doing nothing wrong and merely being interested in a dark fantasy game that was a bog-standard production like 10-15 years ago. And this doesn't even just apply to men anymore. I mean, men are just the easy target to attack. But this all the wrong people bullshit applies to the female gamers out there who have been enjoying the same content that we do as well for years. The examples of this over the past year have been numerous, but things keep escalating and getting even worse, and I think the controversy around Pragmata has represented another major point of that escalation. If you're interested in a broader angle of the controversy, you can check out that last video. I'll leave it linked in the description and top comment. Now let's move on to the sauce. Now, if you watched that last video, or if you're new and might check it out later, one of the things you can take away from it was my exhaustion about the topic. It was one of the stupidest, most brainless and bad faith swamps that I've ever had to wade through. The discourse was indeed that bad, fellas. It's all about dehumanizing men. But it was also mostly comprised of absolutely brain-dead, terminally online fools who honestly aren't worth listening to, minus one or two major voices who sadly are listened to regardless of what they spew, such as Hasan and his take, which can be summed up to, quote, "So what's really interesting about this is all of these losers in the gaming sphere always talk about starting families and stuff, and I don't understand why this has become a thing that they care about. Like, if you're a gamer, you should care about things that you can actually experience. If you're a lonely gamer who has never been around with a woman and will never have sex with a woman, why do you care? Like, what do you care about having children or like writing for having children?" End quote. So, let me get this straight. The weirdo champagne socialist scumfuck who abuses his dogs, supports terrorism, and frequents brothels abroad both doesn't understand why the average guy would like to raise a family someday, and also has some choice words about being with women without having to pay for them. Right, sure thing, brother. You know, I'm sure your viewer base, which you personally admit to hating and finding a bunch of losers anytime that they make you crash out, is definitely very based. Yeah, I'm sure that these are the real winners out there, you know? I'm sure the people sending money your way, supporting the self-hating garbage that you spew day in, day out, are doing very well in life. Next up was Mary Morgan, a pop culture and political commentator who subscribes to the idea that all men are basically animals. Her entire take can be summed up to, quote, "Men are not nurturers. Men don't gush over cute kids in public. Men don't have baby fever. If a man wants to possess a child for any reason other than it being a product of his own lineage, he is likely a predator. And you'd be taking the feminist/radical gender abolitionist position to protest any of the above points. This should explain why a dad simulator game marketed to mostly childless men gives people the creeps." End quote. What is this, a fucking Kotaku journalist? So basically, some dumb blonde broad who is not a man and enjoys dressing up as a child for her social media has some choice words to label all men out there as predators for even fancying the idea of having children. She's supposed to be a conservative commentator, by the way, and yes, if you disagree with her, guys, you know, if you're like a father yourself who cares about your child more than just for serving as lineage, or if you're a guy who wants to be a dad in the future, basically that means that you are a radical feminist because your viewpoint doesn't exist.
got your ass.
No such thing exists in the world, fellas.
Can't believe I missed my daughter's birthday for this. You got kids? Sounds rough. Nah, I wouldn't trade it for a thing.
Retards like this are exactly why wokeism grew culturally, by the way. It's because of takes like this that generalize and paint men as nothing but war machines who breathe. That's exactly the kind of rhetoric that leaves place for progressives to sound good by merely saying something like, "Hey dude, men have emotions too," right before, of course, betraying these values years later when they got all the support that they needed to dominate the culture. And then they just do the same thing of deeming men as nothing but animals as well. Both of these people are awful. Both of their standpoints are dogshit. And if you ever find yourself agreeing with something that they're saying, be wary, because they may very well just be playing you. Because takes like these, fellas, aren't normal. You go outside and you talk to someone about this topic and you bring up either of these quotes, and they'll look at you as if you just spoke Chinese. I don't know how terminally online you have to be to think either of these positions are a thing, but here we are. Also, as a side note, I find it very amusing that Mary Morgan says if you disagree with her, you're a radical feminist. Meanwhile, her take is the most radical feminist take I've ever heard. It's literally just men have no heart. That's it. If her career on Tim Pool's podcast ever falls short, I know a really great group of hags that she can join. It's called Collective Shout. Oh, they're really great, really great, wholesome group of ladies over in Australia. But it is also true that both her and Hasan are randos on the internet. I mean, obviously not just randos, but what I mean is that the people who listen to them are their own subscribers and that's it. As mostly political commentators, they don't really have much pull within gaming culture. But game journalists do, and this is an article that is already out there doing the rounds right now, and man, it is nasty. You know, at a superficial level, most of this article would have been fine, because part of it talks about some nasty shit that went down on Reddit. Now I know what some of you may already be thinking. What? Reddit? But Des, that's such a nice, reputable website where nothing bad ever happens. Yeah, anyway, so what went down in that cesspit of a website was an entire congregation of nonces gathered around to share pictures and weird comments about Diana, the child android character from Pragmata. At first, the moderators of the damn subreddit were even in on it, as some of them were trying to delete posts and ban users. While some of the others were like, no, let them cook, and they were reapproving banned posts and users. Literally, a nonce festival established itself in that subreddit, and it culminated in the deletion of the entire thing by Reddit's upper moderation team once it got too out of hand. If this was all that this article talked about and presented genuinely, there would be no problem, but instead, it's an article that paints the entire interest in the game as being centered on this thing that happened on this pocket of the internet. A pocket of the internet that has sludge and garbage and filth like this happening every other day of the week. It's like the Blighttown of real life. Actually, honestly, fellas, it's even worse than Blighttown. Blighttown was a luxury holiday destination compared to Reddit. The name of the article says it all. Gaming cannot allow Pragmata's Diana fan club to flourish. If this is about nonsense, why are you even calling them a fan club? Just call them the word that I can't say on YouTube. Big headlines and big letters saying the same kind of thing. The response to Pragmata's Diana cannot be normalized. Pragmata goes beyond the culture war. One look inside and there's even entire sections of this article talking about Stellar Blade and the response from gamers to it. The entire article actually begins with this line right here. I don't really mind people finding video game characters attractive. Period. Hit the brakes right now. Why are we talking about character attractiveness in a Pragmata article about a little girl character in the first place? I mean, first of all, the line is even bullshit. In the same article, this moron expresses how the objectification of Stellar Blade's character was bad. If your claim to not mind when people find video game characters attractive ends at your subjective and biased definition of objectification, then you may as well not even make the claim at all. Because this is the goddamn problem that keeps showing itself myself with game journalists time and time again. It's the total lack of consistent standards. It's the idea that some characters are okay to gush over or celebrate fan service of, and you see a lot of that whenever it's characters appealing to women or LGBTQ people, and others aren't, such as Eve from Stellar Blade because it appeals, straight male guys. But frankly, this doesn't even matter. What matters is, if we're supposed to be making an article that exposes the absolute decrepit state of Reddit and the people that it drew together to that subreddit specifically to make unacceptable fan art of a child character, then why are we talking about attractiveness in game characters as a general matter pertaining to the average gamer? You know what I mean? Like, why are we bringing up Stellar Blade? Why does this article begin like I'm about to be preached to by a lobotomite who first needs to lay out some disclaimers such as, "Oh, dear reader, I'm not one of those wokes who doesn't like attractive characters. I'm one of the wokes who likes them, actually. Sort of. Not really, though." Like, what is any of this for as it pertains to the Pragmata situation on Reddit? Well, fellas, it's for using that one disgusting event and generalizing it towards the entire reception of the game, all the love, etc. that the game is getting. That's all that this garbage article is for. Oh, the response to Pragmata's Diana cannot be normalized. Here's what the average normie sees when browsing through social media websites like Facebook or even X, despite X having a bad reputation.
It's for you.
Look at that.
Oh my god, that's so cute. Oh. Dude, I would kill everyone on the planet for her.
I drew it.
Man.
It's for you.
Oh, what do you mean? I love it. It's so cute.
Oh boy.
She hung it up. She hung it up.
Jesus Christ.
It's so adorable.
Can we let him vote?
Oh sure, some of these streamers maybe play it up a little bit for their audiences, but genuinely, this has been it. Aside from the terminally online discourse that I covered on the last video, where people are just mad that there's a load of clips online of gamers reacting to cute moments with Diana, or weirdos seeing that and calling the fans of the game nonsense because in their broken minds, they can't understand why adults might find a child cute in an endearing and protective kind of way, this is all that I've been seeing of the game. Aside from those two groups of lobotomites, this is what the Pragmata reception looks like. People sharing clips of Diana doing silly or funny things,
Diana?
Yeah? What?
See this spot? You think we can get here in one piece? I guess you would know that, would you?
Nope, but I have an idea.
Really?
Yeah, we'll go, and if you don't get hurt, that means it's safe. Let's go.
What are you, fucking stupid?
Let me ask you something. Just how smart are you?
Smart? What's that supposed to mean? I don't have any special add-ons installed.
So you don't know anything about what's going on here?
Yep, no idea.
So you're about as useful as a chatbot, huh?
reactions about how cute she is, and the odd post about parenthood, either from people fancying the idea for the future or reminiscing about it in the past, or discussing the way that it was implemented in the game. People are even calling this Space Dad Simulator or Dad Space, as in dad as in father, not Dead Space as in, you know, the necromorph one. The vast majority of reactions to this game, especially as it pertains to Diana, is this. It's wholesome clips, cute reactions, and then, sadly, the room temperature IQ people with unresolved daddy issues and more mental illnesses than you can chart, seeing that and coping and seething about it, accusing fans of the game of depraved shit that they themselves are cooking up in their own broken minds, things that are just not there. This is the real response to Pragmata, and yet, according to what game journos would have you believe, are those two morons that that we just got done talking about in the last part of the video, it's actually none of this. It's instead a swarm of disgusting men creeping around on subreddits, posting depraved shit, the same way that they posted about Eve from Stellar Blade, and oh my goodness, oh my god, look at what happened, the subreddit had to get nuked because of Reddit's rule number 4, and oh my goodness, Capcom isn't helping the situation either because they made an emote for Twitch with a character crying, and oh my goodness, look at that, Capcom also designed her to be barefoot, and so these things mean that the developers might be deliberately catering to these depraved men. Like, do you even hear yourself? The funniest part is that in their own words, they kinda killed their entire article but just posted anyway. Here's a direct quote. Diana is barefoot because she charges through her feet, and while it does convey childlike innocence to most people, the meme makes it harder to view this design choice through a lens which gives developers the benefit of the doubt regarding which audience they are catering to. My dude, are we genuinely this brain broken that we're saying that a company is deliberately marketing their games towards nonces? Like, don't get me wrong, I know video game companies these days will break their backs making really stupid decisions of who to cater and market to. For example, some game studios think it's profitable to make gender theory and gender ideology stuff part of the primary draw of their major dark fantasy franchise. Yeah, I only need to say this, you guys already know what the fuck I'm talking about. Of course I'm talking about BioWare and what they thought of doing with Dragon Age Veilguard. With all the full-fledged attention on Transformer cosmetics and character choices, an entire companion character whose major struggle throughout the game, despite evil gods being on the loose, is her pronouns, etc, etc, etc. Then, that turns into a big pile of failure and they spend the entire following year coping after getting fired. But nonsense? This shit will kill a studio. Brother, the game wouldn't even make it past the goddamn ethics review. This would kill a company. I won't bother to develop further here because I already talked about this thing towards the latter end of my previous video, and also if you just play the game or just watch like videos, playthroughs on the internet, you will see that this game is dead energy. It's not creep energy like, I don't know, some father got the role of game director and that's what he's doing. And it's not the first time either, okay? I very well remember in God of War 2018, Cory Barlog was very excited to make a father-son type of story as well. He talked about how having a son, or actually a daughter, actually had a daughter if I'm not mistaken, changed his whole worldview. Some people criticize this because it's like, come on, it's God of War, I don't want a daddy-boy story. God of War should be God of War, I want to rip throats out and all that shit, and whatever. That's not the discussion on this video though. The point is, we got a dad who got himself in control of a goddamn video game here with Pragmata. That's what you got going on here.
Ken, come on.
Just give me a moment here.
Where's our welcome party? I can't believe I missed my daughter's birthday for this. You got kids? Sounds rough. Nah, I wouldn't trade it for a thing.
Now the foot thing. The main takeaway here is that to most players, first of all, not everyone has a goddamn foot fetish. Like, that's number one. I'm like, sorry, brother, okay? Most of us look at feet and are either disgusted or it doesn't register, alright? I'm sorry, guys, I know, like, there's a ratio, like, I think it's 3 in 10 or something, okay? I'm sorry if I got any, like, foot bros who enjoy watching my video. But it is what it is. Number 2, and most importantly, most people aren't nonces. So if we are seriously suggesting that we can't have bare feet in video games, or characters that are kids because of a minority of fucks who make it weird, then we're just going to enter the age-old argument of what else we need to ban or censor to make sure that no red lines are crossed in video games, which basically just brings us back to the many arguments people have had against wokeness already. And it ain't even that I would care if they covered her feet. In fact, there's some outfits in there already where she has shoes. But the problem is that we already know that wouldn't doesn't do anything. That's the major problem. That's why this type of discourse is so toxic. Because everyone shouting right now would not stop their shouting. They would just keep attacking this game because the problem itself is not that one element that if you changed it would make everything better. Their major problem is the game. So you give them that inch and they just keep with you until they take the entire mile. That's why compromise is so difficult with these activist types. But worse than that is the Twitch emote thing. As I said in the last video, I had to see this claim multiple times that day before ending up doing research to find out what it actually is. Most people on this earth are not brain-rotten or terminally online enough to know that a crying emoji, something that is already very normally used, has a deeper, darker meaning as a dog whistle of sorts for nonsense. And I would wager that I'm far more terminally online than the average game developer at Capcom. Regardless though, if it ever comes out that it was done deliberately, then by all means, get the marketing and communications guy or whatever who made this decision and buy him a wood chipper for Christmas. But otherwise, I see no reason to be out here misrepresenting the entire game for what it is, to be out here trying to taint something innocent by misinterpretation, trying to paint an entire fandom of this game as predators and pretending like the main traffic on the internet when it comes to Pragmata doesn't come from wholesome reactions and interactions. This is one of the closing lines of this slander. There was a similar sort of cheap discussion over Stellar Blade, but at least there the woman being objectified was a woman, not a child. That does make it better, even if it doesn't necessarily make it okay. Bitch, what are you talking about? Why are we once again bringing up Stellar Blade? Why are we equating these two situations? Stellar Blade's presence online was uniquely dominated by the character being attractive, something, by the way, that this moron began the article by saying was okay, but yet right here, it's no longer okay. Sometimes I wonder if these brain-dead journalists even bother proofreading their own work, if it even is their own work, honestly, but I guess not, huh? Anyway, carrying on. That was Stellar Blade's thing. Eve's attractiveness was a main pull. The character was meant to look that way and exude femininity and grace. Pragmata is not. None of these themes or focus points are present in the game, and the online discourse about Pragmata is not centered on it. It's not even in the same orbit. In order to get there, you gotta go to shithole websites and scour for it. Normal people, actual fans of the damn game, and normies being introduced to it are not talking about this. The journals are deliberately trying to create a false equivalency between these two games to damage Pragmata and its fanbase, to try and associate weirdness and disgusting behavior to father-daughter stories. That's the sole reason this article exists for. And in the final paragraph of the article, this moron actually shows precisely why Pragmata is such a problem for the Intergalactic Woke Journo Association. And this is it right here. Quote, I have not yet played Pragmata, and that's because I am tapped out on stories where men adopt daughter-like figures to prove their masculinity by protecting them. The fuck are you talking about over here, you schizoid? Who's talking about proving masculinity here, dude? Like, again, what is it with these people? Why are they so abnormal? Why are all their thoughts so scrambled? At no point has any of this even come up. At no point have I ever heard a single comment from a Pragmata player going, oh man, I love this game, dude. Absolutely, you know, me and Chad, we were just talking about it. I feel so like masculine and strong, protecting the little fucking, you know, it's like such a power fantasy for me, man. This is really stroking my big chud ego. I think I'm gonna hit the weights later today. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna go right now. Just talking about it is making my muscles pulsate through my skin. You game journalists, man, you guys are real special, you know that? But honestly, that's fine, because you basically do my job for me when you expose yourselves. The salt in this final paragraph, the salt in a game that features men in leading roles protecting another character, the salt at the thought of masculinity, even if it's meant to be a positive aspect of it, such as having the strength and the balls to protect the weak, is so palpable. that it shows exactly why instead of using their power and their larger reach and perceived legitimacy as a journalist for a media news outlet to write a piece targeting the nonsense, hell, maybe even use their credentials and do some investigation into Reddit, try to get names to report them for the serious dangers that they pose, or whatever, really anything, like anything at all at this point that would be productive. Instead of that, they just go for misrepresenting the game, mischaracterizing its fans, completely defaming the game's actual reputation and player response, and sneakily and suggestively imply that Capcom is in on it, with just enough wiggle room to not be liable in a lawsuit, all while dehumanizing men a little bit more. Every time I think I've seen games journalism sink to the bottom, they always find a way to disappoint me and go even lower. I'd like to close this video by just reading a guy's response to that sewage spilled by Mary Morgan earlier in the video, and that is also, in my humble opinion, undoubtedly shared by Hasan and whoever wrote this stupid ass article that we just went through. The post is by Mugen Lord, another YouTuber but also animator and comic book writer who saw through the bullshit man hate and put it perfectly. Quote, "Men don't have baby fever? She's not a man, how the fuck does she know if a man has baby fever or not? I have a daughter who will turn 18 next year, and she's my only child. My daughter is about to leave the nest and it's already hitting me. I've been having baby fever for the past few months now, and it's insane. I love being a father, and I want to make more babies. When my college bro and his wife recently had a baby, they came to visit me and placed that baby in my arms, and it was too much. It brings a smile to my face when I see families with their children. It's always the childless, single, manless, cobweb, aubrey women who have the most to say about men. We're fucking human too. We have emotions, and we aren't robots void of emotion. Yes, men are nurturing. I've been raising my daughter by myself since she was a year old. She's smart, well-disciplined, and not pregnant like the girls around her at school. If she lived with her mother, she would be the opposite. Completely damaged, out in the streets chasing bomb-ass ninjas. I said ninjas, guys. I swear I said ninjas. I don't think anything else needs to be said here, nor could I even put it better than this. This notion, no matter what source is coming from, is ridiculous, but sadly, it's expected. I can see why this happens. I can see why we live in a society where this kind of vitriol about men is so nonchalantly shared online. It's a product of the culture that we fostered all these years, where everything that is meant to be male-dominated or that is specifically designed to appeal to men is inherently negative. When men, and more broadly, masculinity is used as a punching bag every goddamn day from every source that you can look at, doesn't matter if it's in the education system or in the workplace or in entertainment, this is what happens. We get a society that dehumanizes men, and this in turn creates vacuums where other problems arise, like content creators and other sources who take advantage of this to go and appeal to those men, sometimes genuinely with actual care, but other times falsely with scams and more toxicity just for financial gain. And all of it is a consequence of a toxic culture that has ruined far more than gaming. It's just that on this channel, I tend to mostly stick to that. And I'm so tired of it, and even more tired of its bullshit inconsistencies. The way that there's zero standard to it all. The way that, for example, they enact their power over content that gets put in games by talking about demographics. Again, if gaming is male-dominated, that's bad, and it needs to be changed, and so bam, let's get ruining dozens of franchises, let's turn hundreds of games into garbage, let's inject the industry with DEI practices and quotas, not just for content, but also for the studio culture and the demographics of their staff, all so that we can create a more inviting, diverse, and feminized environment, because it's oh so much better. Then they take skewed data such as these graphs from the ESA and they use them to lie about how truly diverse gaming is. Over here, they use this to make the claim that 50% of all global gamers are women. They don't specify how the term gamer in this case is including just random women who happen to have mobile games installed on their phones or tablets. And this is because they don't want the objective truth. They just want them to be able to say that, hey, dear AAA developers making the next big hits, remember, progressivism is the true path forward. 50% of gamers are women, so if you make a game catering to men, you're being a bigot, and if you really want to be a big success, you can ignore 50% of the market. But then when something like this happens with Pragmata, where some creeps gather around on a cesspit corner of the internet to share depraved shit, suddenly gaming is a male-dominated space all over again, and there's no way that video games should be getting made with child characters because the vile men that populate the vast majority of gaming are predators and will corrupt such a cute, wholesome thing. Like, can you guys just make up your damn minds already? We can't be the majority only when it suits you for slandering purposes, while then being made to look like the minority when you want to push your woke shit into video games under the argument that it sells more and the only people who don't want it are fringe little minority pockets of toxic men on a dying corner of Twitter. I really wish we could turn this around and see a rehabilitation of our culture because, man, this ain't it at all, but yeah, I don't know. Either way, that's definitely it for the closing of this video. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, a like would be much appreciated to help the channel out. I'm also always up for any feedback in the comments. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.